And now from the south, we receive political analyst Raya Ziada. Be welcome, Raya. Raya?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, so okay. We were welcoming you from the south. So we have a first question. So far, the official reports account 950 Israeli airstrikes on Gaza that have killed 181 Palestinians, including 52 children. Also, 40 schools and 4 hospitals were completely or partially destroyed in Gaza, and 18 buildings, including 4 high-rise towers, including one housing several press offices, are now in debris. Also, in the middle of this pandemic, Palestinians face power cuts and therefore clean water and other basic supply shortages. So the public opinion, of course, points the attacks as the main form of Israeli violence against Palestinians. But what can we say about the aftermath of these attacks and the humanitarian crisis it provokes?
Actually, in today's latest report, just to update these figures, we're talking about 42,000 Palestinians are displaced only in 7 days. And 230 were killed in historical Palestine, including Gaza, with 3,300 injured, including 58 kids were killed and murdered. 42,000 Palestinians were displaced in 7 days. More than 700 houses were diminished. We're talking about Gaza Strip, with 80% are refugees, and has the highest level of poverty in the world and the most dense place in the world. These people were displaced and became refugees for 5 times. The first time in 48, the second time in 67, the third time in 2009, the fourth time in 2014, and for the 5th time in 2021. We're talking about whole families that have been killed, whole lineages have been completely erased. This is a genocide that we're talking about, an attempt to erase the whole Palestinian narrative. In 2018, the United Nations warned the world that Gaza will be uninhabitable by 2020, and we are now in 2021. Gaza has endured a pandemic, an endless bombing, and 15 years of blockade and a siege, and at this moment, complete neighborhoods are rubble. Thousands we are talking now are still in the streets with no shelter and no food. What Israel is trying to make is to make Gaza flattened. Every time Gaza tries to rebuild itself, Israel comes back and bombs Gaza again, sending a message that the people of Gaza are not allowed to live.
So we agree these attacks are more than just simply a war. This is ethnic cleansing, this is just discrimination, and also this is pure violence. But also we have another topic. According to several media outlets, the Gaza Strip, the liberal Jewish American lobby, has growing influence in the Democratic Party and has urged Biden to do more to stop the bloodshed and the Israeli policies that have helped drive the conflict. And even high-ranking political figures as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez have asked the government to take actions regarding the Israeli attacks. However, the Biden administration signed a $735 million arms sale agreement with Israel. So how convenient is for the US and specifically for the Biden administration the continuity of the attacks against the Palestinians?
The general feeling for Palestinians that we have been feeling failed many times, again and again, by international mechanism. This moment, we ask ourselves, what is the point, for instance, for the United Nations? If their power is limited to condemnations but not accountability, we want them to hold Israel accountable, not just issue statements of condemnation. We want Israel to be held accountable with means to stop millions of dollars in military aid they receive, issuing arrest warrants for those involved in war crimes, and placing sanctions on Israel. And if we look at them, these are not in reality impossible tasks. These have been done in other contexts and can be done for Israel as well. Also, we want the international community to be honest when they talk about the situation on the ground, that this is not a both sides situation. Anything less than calling for now, this is urgent, anything less than calling for the complete decolonization of Palestine and the return of Palestinian refugees is not enough. Palestinians have been fragmented by Israeli state because of their settler colonialization since 1948. I grew up in Palestine my whole life. And every single US administration has increased their military aid to Israel. I have seen with my own eyes how these weapons have been tested on my own people, on my own family members, and how they continue developing these killing technologies and exporting them to other parts of the world. It's not only in Palestine. What's happening now in Colombia and other places where people are resisting and revoluting. In Colombia, where these massacres are committed against indigenous communities. The latest in Caribas Cuenta de Bolvar, and we send our salutes to them. We shed one blood and we fight against one enemy, settler colonialism. That happens in Palestine and in Latin America and other parts of the world.
Indeed, we know that we will need more than words and just actions to save Palestine people and to end the Israeli attacks against the Palestine people. So we have another question for you. The Arab High Follow-up Committee has declared a general strike and associated demonstrations in Arab communities across Israel on May 18th to condemn Israeli aggressions against the Gaza Strip and East Jerusalem. What can we expect from this call for action?
Actually, what we Palestinians would like to refer not to use the word Israel, but to call it Palestine, historical Palestine, occupied Palestine 48. What we have been seeing is a collective rising of Palestinian popular protests all over the cities and in historic Palestine, like cities in Haifa, Nazareth, Al-Fahm, Al-Lid, and Gaza, and there are all over the world now solidarity support, and most importantly, Palestinian refugees in camps in exile, who will be also joining our strike tomorrow. Actually, what we are witnessing now is a very historical moment for us. And not only in Palestine we will have a strike and also actions taking place in different places, but also we are expecting, and we did many calls for the international community to be joining us in these actions to take an action against what is happening now in Gaza and in Palestine.
So we thank you, Raya, for your presence here from the South, and also we expect you in other missions.
Thank you.
Okay, now we move on to other topics.